Hello, everybody. I think we're live. I'm pretty
It
sure
looks
we're
like it.
live. Yay.
It looks like it.
Good. Welcome to a special makeup session of VäkPäker's Guide to TTRPGs. We couldn't make it last week due to personal
Life being
stress, mostly on my end. I'm so sorry about that. But we're here now. We're going to go over level 3 spells this week. But first, I have some announcements. Our sponsor for tonight is Canadian Dice. Go to canadiandice.ca and use the code TheVACTER, all one word, at checkout for 15% off your order. Maggie's dice pick is Ragnarok because every time Affy leaves town, the world ends until she comes back. You know, honestly, accurate.
I'm not wrong.
We love Affy and miss Affy. But we also hope that Affy's having a great time. Next.
She's at Disney World. How could she not be having a good time?
Exactly. I mean, it's got to be fun, right? Like, it's mandatory if you're at Disney. Next, check out our merch store at tinyurl.com/VACmerch. You can get excellent designs like Half-Orc Energy and the Vac Blob with two new Spooktober designs by Affy, the proceeds of which go to Extra Life. Those are still up for a little while, so get it while you can.
Just until she comes back, I was told.
Oh, okay. So really only a little while longer.
Like Tuesday.
Yeah, so get on it. Next, as far as our schedule goes this week, tomorrow evening we have on DM Jeremy's channel, there is more of that game Vazen at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Monday is no Mistwalkers because Affy is still out of town. Then
Word.
Wednesday is the Wasteland Saga at 9 p.m. Eastern on Goodman Games. Thursday is a Song of Crystal and Shadow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern back here. And Friday, we're back to Fixius 5 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I may or may not have had a little panic this week thinking I woke up yesterday morning like, oh no, I haven't even thought about what's going on with Karani, but we played Vampire last night, so it was fine.
And that was so much fun.
Yeah, it was very fun. Very long game, but so worth it. And then, of course, remember that in December, our regular games will be on hiatus. But not to worry, there will be plenty of one-shots scattered throughout the month. A list of available games will be dropping this weekend, and signups will take place next week. Which means I really need to get writing. And as always, find our podcast wherever you download your podcasts from. That's all I have for announcements. Let's get into level 3 spells from the player's handbook. Does Meech work?
No, I wish it did.
Oh, you did hashtag Meech. I understand.
Yeah. It'd be funny if it did, but
it would be funny if it did.
I could actually add that as a command. Actually, I'll do that right now because I can do that. Because I have the power to do that. So I'm going to do it because it's funny.
This pen is not working.
But yeah, so what do we got first here? Animate Dead is our first one tonight.
Great one to start out on. Little bit of 3rd level necromancy.
Like you do.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. What could go wrong?
Yeah, it's about what it sounds. You create an undead servant for yourself. Choose a pile of bones or corpse of a medium or small humanoid within range. Target becomes a skeleton or a zombie. On each of your turns, you can use a bonus action to mentally command the creature you made with this spell if the creature is within 60 feet of you. You know?
Yikes.
Why not? They're under your control for 24 hours, after which it stops obeying any command you've given to it.
Yep. At higher levels, you animate or reassert control over 2 additional creatures. That's crazy.
Dang. What a spell. The material components for this, I just want to point out, are a drop of blood, a piece of flesh, and a pinch of bone dust.
That
so
tracks.
If you're big on components, have that ready in your component pouch.
It sounds like something out of Skyrim, honestly.
It's like, here's the formula to make a zombie pet.
Exactly.
It does take 1 full minute to cast, so you can't.
Yeah, so not something you want to use in battle,
right? So that's that one, and we followed up with a healing spell.
Exactly, like you do.
Or a vitality. Typically,
which
a paladin
I feel like
spell.
You've used this one, haven't you? Or no, yeah. I think maybe Atlas uses this one.
Yes. It is a spell on the optional spells list for druids and clerics. I've used it as a cleric before, not in our game, but in another game.
Okay. And it looks like Twilight Domain clerics get it as well, so... Yeah. Twilight Domains are cool because they get a lot of, like, aura spells.
Yes. And honestly, those auras are freaking fantastic. I know I've used other aura spells, I think, as Craney. Like, I believe I get maybe...
You got, like, Guardian of Faith, didn't you?
Yeah, but there's, like, Aura of Purity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one that's, like, Aura of Life, I think.
Okay.
They might be 3rd or 4th level. Or they might be 2nd level. I'm not sure. They also might not be in the player's handbook.
Yeah.
Aura of Vitality is concentration. Nice. Yeah. If you can hang on to it, it lasts for a minute, and you can do 2d6 healing to someone as a bonus action every round.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I also used
it's a 30-foot radius.
I also used to use it after combat if we didn't have time to sit down for 10 minutes and do like prayer of healing, or we weren't in a safe enough position to do that. But
yeah. It's a good one because you can do, like obviously 6 rounds, or not 6 rounds, 10 rounds.
10 rounds, yeah.
Healing, which is nice. So
it really lets you spread it out.
Yeah. It's got, let's see, verbal components, and it's School of Evocation, which makes sense because it's a healing spell.
Yeah.
Beacon of Hope. This spell makes me laugh every time that I see it because it just reminds me of your first session with Fixius, because you cast this spell on, I think it was Ram, because, or no, it was, you cast it on the group because everybody was like freaking out, and it made everybody feel better or something like that. It bestowed hope and vitality, like... and they're like, "What's happening?" And Aster's like, "Why am I smiling?" It just made me laugh so hard. Like every time I see this spell now, that's what I think of. Your first session with Fixius.
Sometimes you gotta, I don't know, throw a little hope out there for a party that's funny. Like, what's happening? I've never experienced anything good.
Yes, they're all a bunch of chaos beans for sure.
True.
It's another concentration spell for a minute, 30-foot radius.
Yep. Advantage on wisdom saves and death saves.
and they regain the maximum number of hit points from any healing, which is great because sometimes you need that. Like if you're not a life cleric.
For real. Yeah, because life clerics get such a boost to healing. And I mean, the aura spells like Aura Vitality do help, but if you can max out your healing, it's the way to go.
For sure. It's one of my favorite things about Life Domain Clerics is being able to do max healing.
Okay.
Bestow Curse.
I've
only ever seen this spell used once. I've only ever seen this spell work one time.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes it doesn't like they have to make a wisdom save, and if the creature that you're fighting is, fairly smart, it doesn't take hold. So, because I remember when you guys were fighting that Baba Yaga thing, and Aster tried to cast it, and it just didn't work. Why did I take this spell?
Yeah, because, well, you have to, they have to be bad at wisdom, and I would assume that hags are pretty good at wisdom.
Yeah, I think it depends on the hag, but yeah.
However, if you can get it to work, it's pretty great. You have choices. So basically you can choose an ability score. So if someone attacking you is clearly using strength, you can choose strength, and while they are cursed, they have disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws made with that ability score, and then your barbarian can grapple them or whatever. Or if you want to give them a disadvantage on saving throws, it's a good way to do it too. You can also give them just straight up disadvantage on attack rolls against you. You can choose to make them make a wisdom saving throw at the start of their each turn. And if they fail, they do nothing, which is a good one. Or you can make it so that while they are cursed, your attacks and spells deal an extra 1d8 necrotic damage to them.
Yep, which is pretty cool.
It is good.
It is a necromancy spell, and another minute duration for as far as it lasts, but it only takes an action to cast, so that's cool. So you can use it during combat, which is pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a touch spell, worth mentioning. So you do have to get up close to be able to do it,
which sucks if you're a wizard because you're squishy.
Yep. Or cleric. I think clerics can have this. Maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bard, cleric, wizard.
Oh, and a couple paladin oaths, but not all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a fairly well-rounded spell. It just whatever you're fighting has to be kind of dumb.
Right. Next is Blinding Smite. It's a paladin one. Which means I don't know a lot about it. Ooh, but this is kind of cool.
The next time you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack during the spell duration, your weapon flares with a bright light and the attack deals an extra 3d8 radiant damage to the target. Oh, that's nice. So as long as you keep concentration up, you can hit them with this each round.
Yeah.
So an extra 3d8 radiant, which is pretty cool. Additionally, the target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw, or they are blinded until the spell ends. Blinded is a good condition to impose on characters that don't have true sight or tremor sense.
Right.
Because it gives them disadvantage against attacks against you. So.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Now I don't actually know. Is it just the first time you hit them that you get the 3d8? And then the blinded is what lasts a minute? Or
no, it's
because it just says the next time you hit a creature.
maybe. I don't know. I don't play paladins, so I don't know for sure.
Paladins, get in the comments. Tell us what you think. I don't know.
Maybe because it's during the attack duration. Okay. I wonder.
So it would last even if you miss. But then is it the first time you hit with it after you cast it that you'll get that extra 3d8? That's what I'm not sure about.
Double checking right now. What is that in the background?
Oh, that's my dad. Hold
on. Let's see. It doesn't. Let's see. It says the spell lasts for a minute, so regardless if you hit or not, you can get multiple uses out of one casting if you hit multiple rounds. So I would assume that means yes. I guess. So yeah, we'll say yes. Why not?
Great. I'll take it. All right. Next, we have Blink.
Blink.
Which I'm slightly more familiar with, only because I've seen it used more.
Yeah, I think Ford used this spell, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because it like it sort of shuffles you into the ethereal plane for.
Yeah, and then you can move like 10 feet from where you started. Hold on.
Let's see here. Rolled. So for the duration of your spell, on a roll of 11 or higher, you vanish from the current. Okay. So, if you roll 11 or higher, you vanish from your current plane of existence and appear in the ethereal plane. The spell fails, and the casting is wasted if you are already on the ethereal plane, which would make sense. At the start of your next turn, when the spell ends, if you are on the ethereal plane, you return to an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of the space that you vanished from. You can dismiss this spell as an action. So yeah, it's nice because like it gives you sort of a second to get away.
Yes, it does. I'm here. Hopefully.
Can only affect and be affected by other creatures on the ethereal plane. So I mean, it's cool. Like you could play it where like they shift to the ethereal plane and something's sitting there going, "Hi, what's going on?"
Just waiting for them.
Right?
I mean, that would be very funny. There's also, because you have to roll to see if you blink, right?
Yes, so you have to get an 11 or higher, and then you shift to the other plane.
So there's also the chance that you don't blink, in which case... Oh, no.
But the nice thing about this spell is that it's not concentration. For some reason, I thought this one was concentration.
Yeah, I would have thought so too, but that's kind of nice.
Let's see. Minute duration and an action to cast. Transmutation spell. So yeah. And it's a self spell, so you cast it on yourself.
Not bad.
Oh,
this is a spell.
I love this spell.
This is a spell I'm very familiar with.
Same as a cleric and druid. Yes. Yep. I love this spell. I used this on a boat one time while we were running away from a female version of Davy Jones.
Nice.
It was cool.
This was a big favorite of mine when I was playing a Tempest Domain cleric, because your channel divinity you can use to maximize your damage.
Lightning.
And if you happen to be outside in stormy conditions, you also get an additional D10. So basically, you can really pack a wallop with that.
Yep. It says the storm cloud appears in the shape of a cylinder that is 10 feet tall with a 60-foot radius, centered on a point that you can see. This is the spell I think that Aster used that looks like Ram's butt.
Yeah.
And if the spell fails, the spell fails if you can't see a point in the air where a storm cloud would appear. For example, if you were in a room that can't accommodate the cloud. So don't try to use it indoors.
Right.
Or if you do, make sure that the ceiling is high enough.
Right.
When you cast a spell, choose a point you see under the cloud. A bolt of lightning flashes down, and each creature within 5 feet of that point must make a dexterity saving throw. So you can hit multiple targets with this, which is nice.
That's very nice.
But you could also hit your friends if you're not careful, or you call the bolt down.
True.
A creature takes 3d10 lightning damage on a failed save and half as much on a save. And on each of your turns until the spell ends, you can use your action, call down lightning again in the same way. Either same point or different one. And then, like Emily said, if you're outside when it's storming out and you cast a spell, it adds extra damage. So.
And it's great when you can do that.
And you can upcast it, so you can really get some gnarly damage going on with this. Like, if you're outside in a storm and you upcast this crap and you're a Tempest Domain Cleric, like, you could really do some lightning damage.
I believe the most I did with this one was, well, or at least maybe one of the most memorable, the first time that I actually got to use the, like, oh, it's stormy outside ability.
Yeah.
That comes with this spell. We were fighting a Hydra in a swamp, and
nice.
It was stormy outside, but it was also nighttime, and I think I maxed it out, but it was like I cast it at a 4th level or something, so it was like 50 lightning damage. So good.
Love it.
It felt real nice. Especially because, like, clerics aren't always big damage dealers. But every once in a while, gotta get that in there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Always fun.
The next one is clairvoyance. I have not used this a lot. Although I
don't know that I've ever used it.
Could?
Yeah, because you've got divination magic, so you could use it.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and it's on the cleric list again, like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I never prepare it, but maybe I should. It is a concentration spell. It lasts 10 minutes, and basically you create like almost like a scrying sensor, but it's a more close range kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Like scrying, you pick a person, whereas with clairvoyance, I think it's just like you send the sensor to a certain place, and you can choose either seeing or hearing. You know what? I think I've seen. Didn't Desirous use this?
Maybe.
Recently,
it sounds familiar.
In the last like month or so.
Yeah, maybe.
You can use the chosen sense through the sensor as if you're in its space. As your action, you can switch between seeing and hearing. A creature that can see the sensor, like someone who can see invisibility or has true sight, sees a luminous intangible orb about the size of your fist. Mm-hmm. But you do
this
have
is
to
the
have
thing that was scrying on you guys in the temple.
Oh, fascinating.
Yep.
You do have to have a focus worth at least 100 gold pieces if that is something that your DM cares about. Or you as a player care about.
Yes.
Or both. I always... maybe that's why I haven't cast this.
This one is different from scrying because you can only see or hear. Scrying, you can do both.
Both. And obviously
nice.
uses a higher level spell slot.
Yes. I think scrying is what, a 4th level spell? 5th level?
5th.
Something like that. So.
We'll find out. Tune in.
But it's a concentration spell too.
Yeah.
which
for 10
like
minutes.
Let's see. Next is conjure animals. This I've used
Mm-hmm.
as a druid. I like this spell.
Same.
So what I end up doing with this spell as a druid is I will cast this spell, especially if I'm playing a Circle of the Moon druid. I'll cast this spell and I'll do the two. So you can either do one beast of 2 challenge rating 2 or lower, 2 of 1 or lower, 4 of half or lower, or 8 of quarter or lower. And what I do is I do 2 beasts of 1 or lower and I summon dire wolves, and then I will shapeshift into a dire wolf so that we get pack tactics.
Nice. That's pretty good.
So
I have used this to mess with like the action economy.
Okay.
So like if you are surrounded, nothing makes a difference like 8 elk charging at your enemies.
Yes, and as a person, as a DM who you have done that to, it's a pain in the butt to put it on a map.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
I do try like Eerie had it as a ranger. My druid has this spell as well, and I've used it multiple times in my Curse of Strahd game. Sorry. I've also,
it's a good spell
because it lasts an hour. I've also used it to conjure 4 giant owls to carry us places.
Oh, okay, that's a good use to it.
Yeah, just to like if I run out of wild shapes or whatever. And just to make sure we can carry everybody. But yeah, it's a good spell. Some DMs get really annoyed by summoning spells, and I could definitely understand why previously, because like in the book, if you look at the bottom of the spell, it says the GM has the creature statistics. Sample creatures can be found below. And it was very reliant on making sure that like your DM was willing to give you the stats for a creature or something. And sometimes they could potentially like choose what to tell you is available. It also puts a lot of pressure on a DM who is trying to track all of this stuff, and suddenly you whip out conjure animals or whatever, and they're like, okay, give me 10 minutes while I look up all the different beasts and see what fits. Fair. But nowadays, I would say, like, especially with, like, the various online tools available, there's so many. And even, like, for me personally, D&D Beyond, you can find it right on your character sheet and save it. So, like, you have all the animals you would be prone to using. Yeah. So, like, you can save them as wild shapes so that it will show you the stats that you'll have correctly if you're a druid. You can also save them as summoned animals. So, like, you have all the information you need. You don't have to bother the DM. You can just say, this is what I have.
Yep.
So it is a lot easier now than it used to be. But.
Yeah. And it's nice that it gives you like a list of creatures on here too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it does do that at least.
You don't have to like be guessing at like what's what.
I don't know if I've used, let's see. Oh yeah, elk is on here.
The nice thing about this is that you can upcast it. So like if you really want to be a twat, you spend a 5th level spell slot and cast the 8 beasts, and you just summon 16 elk.
Yep. Oh, that's so mean.
Or 7th level, it's 4 times as many.
Yep.
Or 3 times as many, and then
oh yeah, 4 times as many with 4 times. Level.
Which, why you would burn a 9th level spell on that, I don't know, but...
Well, and so this is just a little bit of world lore. When I talk about the, there's a holiday in Bankar on this one continent called Vermintide.
Yes.
And
I remember this.
This is how that happened, because you had like hundreds and hundreds of druids doing like 9th level summonings of giant insects and rats.
Yes. I remember you saying that.
Just so many. So many. And again, it's kind of the idea of like playing on the action economy, just overwhelm them with numbers. Yeah.
Which is always fun.
Yeah. All right. Conjure Barrage.
This spell I've never used.
I haven't either, because... Oh no, this is not the one I'm thinking of, but...
It's a cool spell.
It's
like,
a cone.
I've read the spell. Yeah, I've read the spell. So basically you take like a piece of non-magical ammo and you chuck it in the air, and it creates a cone of like identical ammo.
Yeah.
And each creature within 60 feet in a 60-foot cone has to succeed on a dex save, and a creature takes 3d8 damage on a failed and half as much on a success. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, you just take an arrow, you throw it up in the air, and it does a thing.
Right.
But I've just never used it because I don't... number one, I've played one ranger ever, and...
Yeah.
Number two, like, there are other spells that are cooler, so...
Yeah, and especially with, like, because it's for the ranger or battlesmiths, which are artificers, right?
Yes.
So you're really like a half-caster class in that you only ever get access to 5th level spells at the highest, and you don't have as many spell slots as a full caster. So
yeah.
Are you going to waste one of your 3rd level spells to get 3d8 damage once? Maybe. I don't know. Is it worth... I don't know if it's worth it to me, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool spell. It sounds cool.
Yeah. You know what I think this spell would be cool for?
What?
Putting it in a like limited use magic item where it has a number of charges per day. Then you're not like using your spell slots, but it's like the arrow you pull out of a special quiver or something. It does a cone.
I kind of want to make a special item like that and give it to Reggie, just because I think it would be funny.
Yes, just a tiny little cone of blah.
Yep, it's like needles.
What kind of artificer is he? Do you know? Or he may not be high enough level.
He's only a level 1 artificer right now, so he's not high enough level to decide that yet.
Yeah. Give it to him.
I figured I'd let Affy choose that when he gets to the point where it matters. So
yeah,
since he's her little dude.
That's fair. He should have enough experience points by now to at least be level 2. Come on.
Probably. I have to go back and look, because like I've been tracking his stuff, so I have to go back and look. He's a good boy.
He is. Next is the most infamous spell in all of D&D.
Yep.
I think.
Yep. The bane of Jeremy's existence for the entirety of Saltmarsh, because Affy's character had this spell, and like every time he turned around, counter spell.
I've never had a character that had this, except now in the game that I play on Saturday mornings. I have a fighter rogue multiclass who my initial intention was I'm going to try to do like a fully martial character, no magic. And so I made a fighter rogue multiclass.
Okay.
And then we went to the Feywild. And we met Baba Yaga.
Like you do.
Like you do. And because we were trying to hunt down this hag who had done some horrible things, whatever. Like, it was like the first job we ever took.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a continuation of that. So we're hanging out with Baba Yaga, and we're in her house, and she's offering cookies, and our party has 2 Warforged, a Dampier, and
Can't eat.
who can't eat except blood, and an Aarakocra who, what I think, also doesn't eat. Like, I think he's technically a hollow one. That was
Okay.
brought back by some weird, like, archfey experiment. He was, like, resurrected by some archfey experiment. And so I was the only one that took some of Baba Yaga's cookies. And so she really liked me. So she gave me a bracelet made of braided ribbons that lets me cast Counterspell once per day.
There you go.
And I just got to use it in the fight where we were going up against that archfey that was like experimenting on them. And he tried to like teleport away, and I counterspelled it. It was so good. I love the spell. Because the thing is, I know it's the bane of DMs everywhere, but also you as a DM have permission to use it.
Exactly.
So use it.
And if you really want to be like an ass, you use this against the healer when they heal.
Yeah, or resurrect someone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Counter spell or revivify in the middle of a battle.
Yep. It's rough.
Yep.
And then you have no choice but to go to a longer healing ritual.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's got a 60-foot range on it, and if the creature is casting a spell that's 3rd level or lower, it just auto fails.
Yeah.
And if it's 4th level or higher, you make an ability check. Using DC equals the 10 plus the level of the spell.
Yeah.
So.
Also, you can counterspell a counterspell if you have a reaction.
Exactly.
Cat's meowing at me.
Roxy, you're so sassy.
What's that?
She's like, I heard my name.
You called?
Yes, exactly.
You called my name?
You're like pasta.
What are you doing, my love?
Okay,
next
spell. I learned
spell.
from pasta. Create food and water. This I've used.
Yeah,
I actually used
same.
this in Jeremy's game because we were like out in the middle of the desert, and like when you're in Hark, you're.
Yeah, good spell for traveling. Also, so you don't have to take a million rations with you.
Yep. I love that it specifies that the food is bland but nourishing.
Yeah. It's kind of a bummer. I wonder, like, I feel like maybe this is just me, but if I had a cleric who had the, like, isn't there like a chef feat or something like that? Where you can make like healing pastries?
Yeah.
I feel like there is. I feel like
That'd be
if you
cool.
had that feat, I would let your create food and water taste good.
Mm-hmm.
Know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. It's got a 30-foot range on it, and it's instantaneous, costs 1 action. So.
Yep.
And I think we used it to like
45
make water.
pounds of food. Oh yeah, because it makes 30 gallons of water too.
Yep. Yeah.
45
I think we used
pounds
it to like
of food,
help
though.
refill. Yeah, which is a lot of food.
15 humanoids or 5 steeds for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
So, and the water doesn't go bad. So,
Which is
that
important,
you could
especially
just
in the
keep
desert.
like. Yeah, you could just keep adding water. So
Yeah.
that's what we did was like we used it to add water to a well.
Oh, nice.
To kind of kickstart a well.
Yeah.
And
kind of seed it in a way.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Next up is Crusader's Mantle. So this I've used because I'm a War Domain cleric.
Oh.
I've only used it once, but it's nice.
I am not familiar with the spell at all.
So yeah, it's like it's got a 30-foot radius on it, and basically it makes like you get to do an extra 1d4 radiant damage, and so does any non-hostile creature in the aura. So
That's cool.
and it's centered on you. The only problem is that it is a concentration spell, and there are better concentration spells to use as a War Domain cleric. But
yeah, I can see how it would be good for a paladin though.
Mm-hmm.
Because like your smites are not. Would you put down? My love.
No.
Like most of your smites, except for like the blinding smite we saw, but like most of the smites are not concentration. And so you can just have this aura up or like aura of vitality or whatever.
Right. Roxy. It's like, I'm here to be annoying.
You want to be famous?
Yeah.
You want to be famous?
It lasts for a minute. Come here. Lasts for a minute and takes an action to cast. So,
yeah.
It's nice.
And just requires verbal components.
Mm-hmm. Roxy.
Oh my gosh.
So
where
helpful.
are you going?
Oh, her little meow.
Baby.
Just love her. She's so cute.
What are you
Haas
doing?
is over here just being a creep. Next up is Daylight. I've used this spell once, I think, against a vampire.
Yeah. The only thing is, here's... Because I think I used it against vampires, too. Well, and also I've seen it work, because aren't there some, like... Shadowfell creatures that have disadvantage?
Yes,
or like Underdark?
Sensitive to sunlight.
Yeah, or like bright light, even. Because what are those things? I feel like I need to open a second tab. Hold on a second.
There are some things that are like sunlight sensitive. So like if you're fighting drow, like those are sunlight sensitive.
But here's the thing.
I think Zorn might be too.
Here's the thing that I've heard, and I don't know. I don't know. Daylight is not actually sunlight because it doesn't specify that it's sunlight. It's just bright light. Roxy, I'm gonna kick this cat out. But is it these things? Yeah, like the Sorrow Sworn, they have resistance to certain damage while they're in dim light or darkness. So if you throw up a daylight, they don't have resistance anymore.
If you have one of those things that can blink between shadows too, this is a good one.
Yeah,
because it'll help stop that.
Okay, I don't know where she went. It makes me nervous.
And if it overlaps an area of darkness created by a spell of 3rd level or lower, the darkness spell ends.
Yes.
And it lasts for an hour. So. Which is pretty cool.
That is also nice, because then, like, if you... I mean, it is... Well, and this is the thing, too. I'm torn with this, because technically they say, like, oh, it's not sunlight, technically. But... It's called daylight.
I feel like we've used it for that, though. Like, for
it's
some
called
reason,
daylight,
I feel like
so it should be daylight. Like, I feel like it should be sunlight. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that's just me.
I feel like. I don't know.
Also, it's not a low-level spell. It's a 3rd level spell. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, if you're a 20th level character, it's a low-level spell. But, like...
Most campaigns don't go that high, though.
Right, and if you're, like, a 5th level character fighting vampires, and all you... Like, you don't have Sunbeam.
Yeah.
Where it specifically says the light is sunlight.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I would... I mean, maybe I'm just too generous, but... I would err on the side of, it's called daylight.
Right?
Therefore, it's daylight.
Yeah. Because otherwise, why would you call it that?
Right? But yeah, it does also, there are other monsters that have, it would like give them disadvantage in bright light or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
Worth having. Dispel magic. Good spell.
Yep.
If you got it.
It's good because you can use it to get rid of spells like anything that's like 3rd level or lower. It goes away, and then for 4th level or higher, you have to roll for it. But it's nice because it comes in handy.
I think almost every spellcasting class has access to it?
I think so.
Rangers don't.
It's Bard, Cleric, Druid, Paladin, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Artificer.
That's
so yeah, everything but a Ranger.
Yeah. And like, your martial classes like Barbarian and
Fighter
Rogue,
and yeah.
Fighter. Yeah. Monk. But even so, it's like almost anyone can do this.
It's still a good.
Yeah.
It's still a good spell to have.
Similar to Counterspell as well, in that if you are targeting something that was created by or equal to a 4th level spell or higher, you have to make an ability check using your spellcasting modifier. The DC is 10 plus the spell's level.
Yes. So it's similar to Counterspell that way.
Yep.
So.
And you can use higher level spell slots to help with that. But...
Yes. And it's got a 120-foot range on it.
Yeah. Oh, and what was it? That's what... Okay. They did some shenanigans with this in Critical Role, and I applaud them, because it just says choose one creature, object, or magical effect within range. It does not say that you have to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So pull that on your DM. You have my permission. Shenanigans.
Yes.
Elemental weapon.
Next. I don't actually know this spell.
It's another one of those that's in a class that you and I don't play very often. Mm-hmm. But
Paladins and Artificers.
Yeah. And then, Forge Domain, that makes sense because it's like a creation kind of domain. And then Hexblade also makes sense because you have a weapon.
I've only played one Forge Domain Cleric. Like, they're pretty cool, but like I've only played one.
I have never played that domain.
I think I've played every version of Cleric. The only one that I haven't done yet is the Blood Cleric.
Oh.
From the Critical Role stuff. That's the only one I haven't done.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to try it and just never get around to it.
It would be fun.
Yes.
We should do a evil one-shot. Hang on, I have to kick this cat out.
Roxy, stop being sassy.
Hey.
Okay, so let's see. What does it say here? It's got a concentration of an hour, casting time of an action. It's a touch spell. So a non-magical weapon you touch becomes magic. Choose one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. For the duration, the weapon has a +1 bonus to attacks and deals an extra 1d4 damage of its chosen type. So that's nice because it makes your weapon magical and gives you that +1 bonus to it. And you can use your you can upcast it to give it a +2 and extra d4s or +3. So that's nice. That's a good option for that.
It's nice. But a paladin or an artificer will never be able to use the 7th level or higher.
Yeah. Only the 6th level, right?
Mm-hmm. Or 5th level. Because that's the highest. Yeah. That's the highest their spells go. And why would you use... I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But why would you use a 5th level spell slot to just have a +2 weapon?
Yeah. There are a lot of other spells that you could use for that. But it's good at low levels.
It does gives you that magic. Hour. So I guess that's something.
Gives you that magical damage, which is nice.
Yeah. And potentially you could use it to create a damage type that is not commonly resisted.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, some of those things like acid and lightning or thunder, like there aren't a lot of creatures that are resistant to those.
no. Well,
So
and especially like if you're fighting, is it earth elementals that are vulnerable to thunder damage?
yes, I believe so.
So stuff like that, if you really know your stuff, or if it's a creature you've come across before, that's something that could potentially be useful information. Get that little extra thunder damage. But I will say, equally as useful is Booming Blade, and it's a cantrip. So, you know.
Yeah.
And it does, I think it does more damage. Booming Blade does a d8 of thunder damage at a certain point. And by the time you get to a high enough level to use this spell, you know.
Just saying. There are definitely better spells to use, but it's an option.
Yeah. That's true.
You could use it as flavor.
Yeah.
If nothing else. You feel like burning a 3rd level spell.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Next is Fear. I have never used this spell. I've used it as an effect in a dungeon though. Like a cone.
I think there's certain dragons that use this too. Like that it causes a fear effect around them. So I don't know that I've ever used this as a spell either.
Yeah. I guess it says you project a phantasmal image of a creature's worst fear. Do you have to know what that is? Or does the spell just
I
do
guess,
it
or
for
you could just say, yeah, you could just say like, as the DM or whatever, you could ask them what their worst fear is, or like just be like, make something up. If it's if it's an NPC or something like that. So.
There's also just like once you get to higher levels, there are a lot of creatures you're going to come up against that are immune to fear.
Yes.
Or have advantage on saving throws against this kind of thing. So, I don't know. It could be useful up to a point, I think.
Tim says his worst fear is Oreos with ketchup inside. That's pretty bad.
Ew. Oh no. That sounds awful.
It does.
Sounds gross. Sounds real gross.
Let's see. Next is Feign Death. I've never used this spell, but I have read it. Because clerics get this spell. And it basically just makes it so that you look like you're dead, but you're not.
Yeah.
It's the Juliet spell. Basically, it makes you look dead, but you're not actually dead.
The only time I've used this spell was in the process of creating a magic item for my druid. That's it. And it basically made it so that the item that she had to like cast it on the item using special components that she like hunted down every day for she had to get like 10 successes, I think it was, or something like that.
Okay.
And so once I had to like roll like wisdom checks or whatever as part of it. But it basically makes the item so that if I die, my soul is held in the item, and my body is protected for longer.
So it's kind of like the
It's
Ring of Mind Shield or whatever that is, right?
Or like what's the spell that gives you more time?
Repose, kinda.
Gentle repose. It's like that. It's basic. Yeah. That's the effect it basically had. It was the agreement that I worked out with the DM.
Yeah. This one, so you use it to basically the target looks dead to outward inspection, and they're blinded and incapacitated. Their speed drops to 0. They have resistance to all damage except for psychic. And if the target is diseased or poisoned when you cast a spell, or becomes diseased or poisoned while under the effect, the disease and poison have no effect until the spell ends.
Yeah.
So that's a way to get around something like that. You just basically put them in like Sleeping Beauty, Snow White.
Yep.
Mode.
Yep.
And haul them off to a cleric that knows what they're doing.
It doesn't say that you're deafened. It just says you're blinded.
Yep, and incapacitated. So you can still hear.
Yeah.
Which is kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, I've never used the spell, but I've seen it. And it looks like you can use it as a ritual. So
yeah. So 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I feel like that one probably has more like roleplay purposes to it than anything. Like, you wouldn't want to use that in combat, obviously.
Yeah. But you could potentially use it to sneak someone in somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Or out of.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Next up is Fireball. Everybody loves this spell.
It's true.
My favorite thing about Fireball is like the saying that says, an arrow may have your name on it, but Fireball is addressed to whom it may concern. So it's like, you just point in the room and you let off a fireball. It's fine. I found out that clerics can have this spell now because of, I think it's because of.
Well, it's only certain clerics.
Tasha's, maybe.
Yeah, it's on the expanded spell list for a couple clerics.
I have a War Domain cleric, and Keela can use it because she used it for the first time. And not this last game, but the game before that, we were fighting a bunch of hags. And
Light Domain gets it also.
Yep. So it's got 150-foot range, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 20-foot radius. And any creature that is within that range has to make a dexterity saving throw, and it takes 8d6 fire damage on a failed save and half as much on a successful. So like it's pretty hefty spell.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that like the minute somebody says fireball, you're checking to see if somebody's got counterspell because it hurts.
Yep.
And I've seen like there's an item that's like a necklace of fireballs.
Yep. There is.
Or I think
there's
Sly in our game, maybe. Sly in Mistwalkers has like a ring that has a bunch of little beads on it, and she just like flicks the beads and it becomes a fireball. So it's like, it's dangerous.
But hey, if you're a rogue, evasion.
Yep.
In case anyone wanted to know, also, if you need a monster that has fireball, use it on your players. Flaming Skull.
Yep. Those things are great.
Yep. Especially with a group of noobs who have no idea what they are.
Mm-hmm. They're just like, what is that?
Why is this floating skull here?
What do you mean it's gonna light me on fire?
Right? Yeah. Fly is next.
Yep.
Also a fun spell. Only lasts 10 minutes though, which is bummer. But your flying speed is 60 feet. If you're still in the air when the spell ends, you fall.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can
depending
cast
on where you are,
else,
you can go pretty high.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one.
And it looks like you can upcast it to target additional creatures.
Yep.
So it's nice if you have to like scale a building and you have a party that's not real huge.
Right.
So
not bad.
There's that. Let's see. That was the last one on this page.
Yeah.
Do the thing.
I
The
could
next
go
one.
maybe 30 more minutes if that's okay with you. Because then we have to walk my dad around again.
You make him sound like a puppy.
Well, we have to make sure that we're with him so he doesn't fall.
Yeah. No, I get it. For
Knee
sure.
replacement. It's going well.
Okay. So first up on this page, gaseous form. The fart cloud.
Yep. But it's not even the good fart cloud that druids can make. Like, it's the sad
Windwalk or whatever is the good one, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Which Aster has, and I kept trying to say that Aster would be able to use it. For all the travel we did in the Feywild. Everything that was going to take us like 5 days, and it was like, does anyone have a spell that can make us like 300 feet per round?
Yep, I know. You gotta like say
the hints
that
were
stuff
missed
though out loud because like Keisha doesn't know spells, so
yeah, I know.
That's one of those things that you kind of gotta like be like, hey, I think you have this spell.
I think you have a spell that can make us go fast into floaty form. But also, I didn't think that Karani would necessarily know what those spells were. So I didn't want to say it in character. However, this one only has a flying speed of 10 feet.
Yep. So it's pretty slow. And yeah. It's good for like if you have to like move through a space that's real small into another room.
Yes. And it does only last an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine it could be very good for spying.
Yes, I would think so. Are you invisible as this?
No. I think it's just a misty cloud. So depending on the room you're in, it could be pretty close to invisible.
Yeah. Transform a willing creature you touch along with everything it's wearing into a misty cloud. Yeah. So it's resistant to non-magical damage.
Mm-hmm.
And it has advantage on strength, dex, and con saves, which is pretty nice. But
how long does it...
I think that it's a good spy spell.
How long does it take to turn yourself back, or can you?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I think it's just an action, isn't it?
Maybe. It's an action to cast it, but you can cast it on creatures other than yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't specify in here.
Yeah.
I would think that you could drop it if you wanted to, or whoever cast it can drop it.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, it's a utility spell for sure. Yep.
Oh, here we go. Here's one of the long spells.
Glyph of Warding. I've not used this spell in 5e, but I have accidentally walked across this spell in 2nd edition.
Really?
Yep. When we were playing in Jer's Dragonlance game.
Oh, yeah.
We were like wandering through a cave, and there was one of these glyphs on the floor, and we missed it, and half the party walked through it. So it's not good. It was the explosive one too, so like it was not good.
Yeah, that hurts. That's almost a fireball, but you can make it a damage that's uncommon, which is really
like acid or lightning or thunder. So Yeah, so basically you just put like a spell down on a floor and
Yeah.
it blows up whenever you whatever you set the trigger as.
I
So
think
it's a good booby trap spell.
I think you can also put it like inside a chest or something.
Yeah, I think it actually specified that in here.
Yeah.
Where like if you
Oh,
open it or
yeah.
whatever, it blows up.
For glyphs inscribed within an object, the most common triggers include opening that object, approaching within a certain distance, or seeing or reading the glyph. Once it's triggered, the spell ends. Okay. Ooh, you can further refine the trigger so the spell activates only under certain circumstances or according to physical characteristics such as height or weight. Creature kind, for example, the ward could be set to affect aberrations or drow, or alignment such as evil creatures. You can also set conditions for creatures that don't trigger the glyph, such as those who say a certain password. Nice.
Yeah, so it's a good sort of like booby trap spell for like I would put this in a vault.
Yeah.
Like
Another
using it to
good
guard
one
the
for
entrance of a
DMs.
vault.
Although, you know what? In Vox Machina, they used it when they were setting a trap for Umbrasyl.
Yes.
I believe Pike put it inside a chest. And then when the chest was like lifted a certain height off the ground,
it blew up.
Blew up.
Was it Umbrasyl or was it Vorgal?
Umbrasyl. The one outside of Western.
Yeah, okay.
With the Goliaths
the acid
and such.
spray. Yes. Okay. I remember the black dragon now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've never used it in 5e, but I've seen it used.
Yeah.
So it's a good spell.
Yeah.
Takes an hour to cast it though. So it's definitely not something you can do in combat.
Yeah, you
obviously.
gotta prepare.
Let's see. Next up is haste.
Haste.
This is a great spell. I love haste.
I do too.
This is a great spell. I keep waiting for somebody to like put haste on Ram, or like if you have a monk in your party and you put this spell on them, they just
I should have done it as Eerie because Eerie had haste.
Oh yeah.
I thought about it.
That's great.
But I think we ended up in a sticky situation before I even had a chance to cast it.
Yes.
+2 to armor class, advantage on dex saves, and you get an additional action on each of your turns. It does technically say the action can be used to only take the attack, one weapon attack only, dash, disengage, hide, or use an object action. But I have seen people homebrew it to where, like if you cast haste on someone who's a fighter who gets multiple attacks or something, that the DM will let them take their multiple attacks during their hasted action, but then the DM gets to do it too. So, like, if their bad guys are hasted, then they get 4 attacks or whatever.
Yeah. So, I guess it's up to DM discretion, but its concentration spell lasts for a minute. So, but when the spell ends, the person it can't take actions or move for the next turn. They get kind of like goofy from moving too fast.
Yep.
So
you get that.
Yeah. Yep.
Honestly,
Hunger
I think
of
it's a good downside.
Yeah, it is. Especially if you cast it on like a barbarian or something who gets like 90 million attacks around anyways.
Yeah.
So.
And it is a concentration spell, so if you lose concentration on that, again, that lethargy, that's a pain, but...
Yep. I have seen that happen where it, like the person that cast it loses concentration and it's like the worst time that it could happen.
Yes.
So...
Yep. Makes sense. Hunger of Hadar.
Hunger of Hadar. I don't know that I've ever used this spell because I don't play warlocks.
Yeah.
I've only ever played one warlock, and she was the mummy warlock, so she didn't have this spell.
Did Ford use this in campaign 2? Maybe once. I think when they were, when they were in Nicodranus, and they like went in the tunnels under the city and found the way that they were.
The water elemental thing?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Didn't he use it after they freed that thing?
Freed it?
Against the douchey guy that was like obsessed with
the one who sent
Jester's
him there.
mom. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember, but yeah, maybe. But you basically, so you open a gateway to the dark between the stars, and you just open a gate of eldritch horror. It's fine.
Yeah.
20-foot radius, and
I think it's
void
very
is filled
funny.
with soft whispers
And slurping noises. That's disturbing.
Weird.
If you were in that would be unsettling.
Terrifying. I wonder if it's supposed to be like the space where the tentacle dudes Illithid, where they kind of come from.
Oh, maybe.
It's
Could
something
be.
like that.
I mean, I feel like a number of aberrations have and monstrosities have tentacles.
Yep. But it does cold damage and acid damage. So.
And it has magical darkness.
It has tentacles.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the...
Yep.
You know how sometimes they make the spell effects that you can place on a map?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the D&D version, like the Wizards of the Coast version of that?
Not of this spell.
I think it's like straight up little purple tentacles that you can just place in an area.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure. Oh.
Jasmine says, yes, the tentacle dudes. Like you, dude. I think they're called Illithid. They've got like tentacle beards. They're mind flayers.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's next? Hypnotic pattern. This one I have seen.
Yes.
It's a good bard spell.
It is a good bard spell. I think there's potential for arcane tricksters to have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't not use this spell.
Yeah, because
pretty sure anyways.
She used buttons.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
She threw buttons in the air.
But
it's a 30-foot cube.
Yeah. And the pattern appears for a moment and vanishes. Each creature in the area who sees the pattern must make a wisdom saving throw. That includes friendlies. Keep that in mind.
Yes, you can hit your own dudes with this.
Yep. On a failed save, the creature becomes charmed. So keep that in mind for people who are resistant to charms or immune to charm effects. While charmed by this spell, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0. Incapacitated creature cannot take actions or reactions. The spell ends for an effective
if they take any
creature.
damage.
Yes. Or if someone else uses an action to shake them out of the stupor. Which you can do.
Wisdom save.
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was an intelligence save, but it is a wisdom save.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's see. Next. Oh, the bubble.
Leomin's Tiny Hut, also known as Tiny Hut. It takes
the bubble.
Yeah, 1 minute to cast or 11 minutes if you don't want to use a spell slot and if you have that kind of time.
Yes.
It is a 10-foot radius immobile dome of force. The person that casts it has to stay inside it through the whole duration for it to stay up. but it does last 8 hours, long enough for someone to get some sleep.
Yep.
9 creatures of medium size or smaller can fit inside the dome with you. The spell fails if its area is larger. Sorry. The spell fails if its area includes a larger creature or more than 9 creatures. Interesting. Creatures
what
and
size
objects.
Is a minotaur?
I think they're still medium.
Are they still mediums? Okay.
There's a lot that are larger humanoids, like Goliaths are still medium. Furbolgs are still medium. Technically, like Minotaurs are still medium. But
they're huge.
You have, I think they give you like the carrying capacity of a larger creature.
Okay.
Because of your size.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically we just call it a bubble.
Yeah.
So like and there's a special object that Ram has that casts this spell at night that they use at night for you guys, because I came across this object on, I think it was on Pinterest, like before I ever even started running Fixius. And basically it's a portable campsite, and it says on it literally says on the spell description, it says, "Do not point this at your face." So I thought that was amusing. Affy was so excited when she found that thing, so.
That is pretty great. It is comfortable and dry regardless of the weather outside. On the inside, it's comfortable, dry. And you can command the interior to become dimly lit or dark. It is opaque from the outside. It can be any color you choose, but is transparent from the inside. Not bad.
Good spell. I like it.
Yeah. It's good for flavoring too.
And you can cast it as a ritual.
Yeah.
So.
Which I think makes sense.
Yeah, if you're getting ready to like settle down for the night. And like they used it in a really interesting way in campaign 2 when they were fighting that white dragon.
Yes. Yeah.
When they fought.
Because then they had something they could run into and the dragon couldn't get into it.
Yes. And that was like Vorgal's mate, wasn't it? Or their kid or something?
It was their mate.
Yeah.
Or supposed to be.
So.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Lightning arrow. Is this a
Not
ranger
one I've
spell?
ever used. Yes, it is. Specifically, only ranger spell.
The next time you make a ranged weapon attack, the weapon's ammunition or the weapon itself transforms into a bolt of lightning. Make the attack roll as normal. The target takes 4d8 lightning damage, or half as much on a miss. Whether you hit or miss. Each creature within 10
just have to
feet.
Yeah, so you just have to kind of aim in the middle of a bunch of bad guys, and it will still do what you want it to.
Anyone that fails takes 2d8 lightning damage, or half as much on a success. Cool. Like that. I think
you can upcast it.
I think Vex used this a number of times.
Yeah, that or she had a bowstring that did it.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Again, it's another good way. This is another good spell to turn into a magic item so that you're like, especially rangers who sometimes get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of like spell slots. So
giving them something that uses that for free is always good.
Yep. Next up, lightning bolt. Good spell. 100 foot range in a line.
Yeah.
Instantaneous. It's an action to cast it, and you have to make a dex save.
86
100
lightning
feet
damage.
long and 5 feet wide.
Yeah.
So you better be sure of what's on the other side of what you're casting this at, like when you cast it. But it is a good spell.
Yeah. 8d6 lightning damage, which is the same amount of damage that a fireball does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in a line instead
But-
of a radius.
Yes.
It does also ignite flammable objects in the area that aren't being worn or carried.
And you can upcast it, so
Yeah.
which is nice.
Let's see.
Magic circle. So I don't know a lot about this spell. I don't know
I
that
don't
I've ever used it.
either.
I don't know what it's for.
Well, I think this is what you use to, like, trap something.
Oh, it's to keep something out. So a 10-foot radius, 20-foot cylinder. A magical energy centered on a point on the ground you can see within range. And you choose one or more of the following types of creatures: celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, or undead. The circle affects a creature of the chosen type in the following ways. The creature can't willingly enter the cylinder by non-magical means. If the creature tries to use teleport or interplanar travel to do so, it must first succeed on a charisma save. Creature has a disadvantage on attack rolls against targets within the cylinder. The targets that are inside of it can't be charmed or frightened or possessed. And when you cast this spell, you can elect it to cause its magic to operate in reverse, preventing a creature of a specified type from leaving.
Oh, see, I've seen that. Well, I think they had that in the Happy Fun Ball. There was a creature in there that I think was trapped inside of one of these. But I guess it would have to be a very specific circumstance to set this up, because it takes a full minute to cast it. So you can't cast it in a combat situation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be sure that whatever creatures you're trying to protect yourself from will probably be gone within an hour. Otherwise, you lose the spell and then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got a casting time of a minute, so.
Yeah. Do we want to do major image as our last one?
Sure.
And then I have to get going. Sadly.
Yeah. So we've got major image. It's concentration spell. This one, I have never used it as a spell, but I have seen it used with a deck of cards before.
Mm.
There's an object called the Deck of Illusion. The Deck of Illusions, and actually, Mistwalkers actually has that. Like, Keelai is actually walking around with that deck right now, because originally Alaric had it, and he gave her all of his shit when he went back home. So she's got all of his stuff, and that deck is in there. So
okay. Oh, fun. I mean, it's pretty good because you can make a pretty large illusion that has both like, it has a number of sense elements involved so that it seems real.
Yep. And I think they used this in campaign 2 when they were going through the jungle or something, didn't they? Like the jungle village, like Ford pulled it out and like dropped a dragon in the middle of town or something.
They used it a couple times. They used it once in the Underdark on their way to Shorehas. I think he made a manticore coming out of the lava to distract some fire giants so they could run through that room. And then it was sorry, I like inhaled some water. When they were at the secret sanitarium kind of place.
Yeah, yep.
He tried to use a dragon on a bunch of wizards. By the way, a creature that uses its action to examine the image can determine that it's an illusion with a successful intelligence investigation check. Now, I don't know if you know this, but wizards use intelligence as their main...
Yep, as their main stat. So, you know. Yeah.
But
I don't know.
it is nice.
It's a good spell.
Good distraction spell.
Yes, for sure. So like if you got a rogue that gets a hold of a deck of illusions, like that they're golden. Like it's great.
think the like first level one shot that I wrote for my dad and his brothers, I made an item it was like a staff that could cast it once per day.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. Well, we'll stop there. I'm actually going to write down
where we ended.
Yeah.
We're on major image. So our next one is mass healing word is next one for us. So.
We will pick back up with level 3 spells next week?
Next week.
And
yeah, because this was a makeup stream, so
yeah. So we'll pick up with this next week.
You're gonna go raid. Looks like Sweet and Laura's.
Sweet.
Actually, Hampod's going, so we're gonna go raid them.
Oh,
I think
awesome.
they're doing their werewolf thing tonight. So
cool.
So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week with our regularly scheduled episode.
Nonsense.
And we'll keep going with level 3 spells. In the meantime, have a great week, everybody. Catch all the rest of our stuff that's left for the month of November. And in December, we'll be back with a bunch of one-shots. So keep an eye out for that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not right now, anyways. So.
Well,
we'll see you when we see you guys.
Yeah. We'll see you when we see you. Bye.
Raid going now.